Hey everybody, welcome to our lives today. I'm Brandon Gustafson. I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. Excited to have you on our topic today. We're going to be talking about finding out what the ideal salary is for your assisted living administrator. So something that we had a comment on on YouTube a few weeks ago, and so I wanted to make sure we were answering that so you understand exactly how to figure this out and make some progress as you're trying to get things ready to go to launch your assisted living business, and or if you already own the business so that you know what to expect when it comes to paying people. Before we really dive into the topic, I want to remind you to go and grab the free business plan checklist. To go to assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. I've got it down right. Nope, looked that way. Down there at the bottom of the screen. And so make sure you go and grab that free resource to help you out in writing and creating your business plan. It's one of the most important things that you're going to do if you're trying to get funding along your journey to launching your assisted living business. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into our topic today. What is the ideal salary for your assisted living administrator? And again, make sure you go grab that free business plan checklist, assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted living facilities. I've been doing this since 2020, and I do this out of state as well. I live in Utah, and I operate in Colorado and in Idaho. So you can do this out of state if you are interested in doing that. I have secured over $1.5 million in SBA funding and understand that process and what it takes to do that. And I also have a master's in healthcare administration. I've worked in the healthcare industry for over a decade and have a lot of experience there and can share that with you and how you get along with this. So I wanted to get into this really specifically because wages are going to be the biggest expense that you have inside of your facility, and your administrator is going to be the highest paid person. So uh, you want to really understand what this person is going to make and understand how you can how you can identify how much you're going to pay them. Do the research for your specific area and make sure that you're not going to be overpaying or underpaying them, that you're getting them a competitive salary so you know what to expect when you're doing your underwriting, and just kind of know exactly what to expect as you kind of go through the entire process. So let's talk about first, number one, the salary range. So salary range is typically going to be, if you can do this research online, but between 50 and 150,000. Like, it is a huge gap, right? It's a big number right there. It's $100,000 gap between it. What you're going to find when you do this, especially if you do some research on places like salary.com or Indeed or something like that, is you're going to get average salaries that are very specific to the high end, the big box facilities, is what people will call them. And typically, those facilities are going to pay more. There's more residents, there's more staff to take care of, there's more families that you're dealing with, there's more responsibility, and the impact of it will generate the owner more money, and so you're going to pay somebody more for that. So when you look at salary ranges online, you need to keep in mind that it is largely skewed towards that big box area. Those are the ones that an administrator is typically going to make 100,000+. So very possible for an administrator, if you're an administrator trying to figure out what your salary range is going to be, very possible to get into that 6-figure range, which is great. But for smaller residential facilities, and for those of you that are watching this, that's largely who you are. Those smaller residential facilities are typically going to be between like 50 and 80,000. That's a little more typical. So you can see that range is 50 to 150, but the residential, smaller residential, you're much closer to the smaller end of that range, being in that 50 to 80,000 rate. You also have to take into consideration that different states will have different ranges to deal with, because of higher or lower cost of living. And if it's a higher cost of living state, you're going to be higher on those ranges as well. So if you're in California, you're probably going to make more than somebody that's in Alabama. It's just more expensive to live in California than it is in Alabama. So you want to be looking at the difference there. Where does your state kind of fall into the continuum of things here? How's that going to play out in my wages? It wouldn't surprise me if you even saw lower wages than the 50,000 in certain states, just because of where that's at. So that's going to give you an idea of what the range is. So you need to think to yourself, what kind of facility am I going to do? Where am I going to be at in this range? You want to do the research yourself. Because as much as I can tell you this is the range, this is a point in time, and things can definitely change over time. And so you want to be aware and do your own research as you get into it. Now let's talk about why that pay is going to differ. Why is there this low area that's 50,000, 50 to 80,000 for a small residential facility and 100 plus thousand for a big box facility? And the reasons why you're going to see such a discrepancy in those is, number one, complexity. Bigger facilities may end up having independent care and assisted living and memory care and nursing, all like in the same building. So there's more regulations that are involved when you start implementing other things, and serving multiple populations inside of one building. There's more paperwork as you have more residents, so you got to take care of the paperwork for all of those residents, and that can take a lot of time. You're going to have more residents, which means you're going to have more staff, which means you're going to have more problems. You're involving a lot more people when you have bigger facilities. And so when you're doing that and you're dealing with that many more personalities, the residents, the staff, the resident families, that come with that, more problems. It's just inherent. It will happen. Just statistically, it's going to happen. So you have to expect that. And when you're dealing with more, you're going to need to pay somebody more, because otherwise they will leave. And those big box people, I've talked to a lot of them, they actually like coming down to the smaller residential facilities because, yeah, they're not getting paid quite as much, but man, there's a lot less headaches. It's just a lot easier to operate and run those businesses than it is a big box facility. And so that's something that they will take into consideration. I'm going to get paid less, but it's going to be a whole lot easier to work with less staff and less paperwork than what it was dealing with at a big facility. um, with bigger facilities, you also have bigger budgets, so there's more money available to pay. So that's one. But also, because there's bigger budgets and there's more people involved, those decisions that the administrator is making, that they're working through and trying to make for the business, they're more important financial decisions. They have a much bigger impact. So if there's just so much more that can go into that, and that can really impact the way that the business is functioning. You see this. This is why big company CEOs make a whole lot more than your local nonprofit down the street, or a small business that has been in business for 10 years doing a little bit, because the scale of what's going on there, it's not quite as big. They're not going to impact quite as many people in those financial decisions. While important in the context of what they are doing, is not that important compared to a big Fortune 100 company. So you have to kind of take that into consideration. So that is why there's going to be a difference. So for you of you that are doing this residential facility, I'm not telling you that what you're doing is not important and that the decisions you make are not financially important, because they are. Like, it has a huge impact on you and your well-being and your family and the facility. But compared to some big company, it's on a much smaller scale. And so smaller residential facilities don't have the capacity or the funds available to pay administrators large sums of money. And so that's what you're going to see there. So this benefits you when you're one of those small facilities. Now, let's talk about where you can hire these staff. So, hiring staff, it can be difficult, it can be hard to find. When we first started out, Facebook was actually great. I had some really good stuff inside of the Facebook Marketplace for posting jobs and things like that. It was awesome. and they changed it in the just in the past 2 or 3 years, and now it is like I don't like it. It's hard to find. There's a lot of rules and restrictions around what you can post and what you can ask people for and stuff like that. And so I don't use Facebook at all anymore. I used to. It was how we primarily hired people in the past. We don't use it anymore. It's just a headache to use. So we use different job boards. I really like Indeed. That's where we've had a lot of success with with posting jobs and hiring people out of. Really easy tool to use. So Indeed is great. LinkedIn can be good. LinkedIn is probably going to be a little more specific to administrators. You're probably not going to use LinkedIn to hire your caregiving staff, but they will be on Indeed. Indeed can be a little bit of a catch-all, and there's a lot of other options out there. There are some industry-specific job boards as well. So MedBest and Argentum are ones that you can look at. What I have found, you've got the job boards, the industry specific job boards. Indeed, for smaller facilities is probably the best spot for you to be, if I'm being honest. I should look and see if I can find some information on that. If you're interested in learning more about Indeed, type in Indeed down below, because I might be able to I don't know, maybe get people a deal on using Indeed, or um, potentially just like learning how to use it, how to post a job and things like that. So if you're interested in that, type in Indeed down below. Um, Another way that you can do this is just company career pages. So put it on your website. We have actually done this in the past with Facebook, where we create a Facebook ad that pushes people, that's for our job, that pushes people to our website to apply. Now, our application process, I don't pay somebody to handle all of it. So it's very, I don't know, it could be a lot better, is what I'll say. There are ways to do that, but there's software that can help you out in doing that, and building that out. If you are one single small assisted living facility, I don't think you should do it. I think it's probably too big of a hassle. But if you have a large facility, or you have multiple facilities and you're hiring a lot of people, I think it's worth having a career site on your web page where you can point people to and they can apply, and you can look at their applications. So that's something I think is worth looking into. It's just is it the right time for you? Do you want to spend the resources on it or not? Because realistically, you put it on there, unless you're pushing people to it with ads or something like that, or you have this big presence where people know who you are, they're not going to find you. And so you don't, I would just suggest that if you don't have the time or the resources to really build that out, it's probably not worth it. But once you get to a point where you're big enough and you have enough notoriety, at that point, it probably makes sense to put something on your website so you can accept applications. And the fourth one that I want to point out is networking. Networking is key inside of assisted living, just in general. It's how you're going to get residents in your facility. It's how you're going to get those referrals and things like that. But the same thing goes with getting people in for your staff. So this could be going to career fairs, going to like local high schools, even that to like CNA type classes, or the community college, and doing some networking and getting your name out there to those groups of people where you have professionals or people that want to get into the world of caregiving, whether in some capacity, and presenting you as an opportunity for them to start working in this field and getting experience. That's another really great way to do it. Something that we have had on our roadmap in the past. We just haven't had the capacity to do it, but as we look to expand our operations, is something that I would love to do. I love getting involved in those types of places and building relationships. I've done a lot of that in my professional career with community development and management and internships and things like that. And it's a great way to get incredible talent in at lower costs that can help you out. Now, for an administrator, that might not be the best for caregiving. I think it's an excellent fit when it comes to administrative staff. Your facility administrator, cannot recommend Indeed highly enough. I think it's a great tool for you to use, and a lot of the type of people that you want to hire are going to be looking on Indeed. That's the reality of this industry. If you are aware of other ones, though, type them in down below. I would love to hear what other resources, what other platforms, job boards are you aware of that you've used in the past or that people are talking about, and tell me. I'd love to check them out. Um, Next thing is the information you need when you're hiring. When you put that job position out there, what do you need to get from the individual who's applying? Number one, you want to get a resume. You need to look at that. What's their historic job performance been? Have they been sticking around at places for a long time? Have they been jumping from job to job? Like, what does that look like? You want to make sure they have their administrator license. You can hire somebody without an administrator license, but they should be working towards it. And you want to check with the state on how that's going to play out for your facility. So it's something that you need to be kind of careful with. I personally would suggest that you hire somebody that already has the administrator license. It's just a lot easier. It's so much more smooth to hire a person like that. Just it makes your life a lot easier. You can just jump in. You don't have to worry about trying to figure other extra things out because you're busy. You already have enough headaches. You don't need to try to balance that and figure it out. So, highly recommend getting somebody with an administrator license in place already. And references. You want them to provide you with references, and I highly encourage you to call those references because that's how you're going to get to know them a little bit better, their past job performance, what people like and don't like about them. Preferably, those are not family members or friends. If you're an administrator and you are watching this on what you should be doing, do not put your family and friends as references. Put professional contacts. This is why you never burn bridges. You want to have good people that can give you references about the quality of person that you are, the quality of work that you do, and how reliable you are. So if you get references, make sure you call them. If you don't have references, ask for them. And again, make sure you call them. That's going to be something that's going to benefit you quite a bit as you're trying to hire this position. Next, I want to talk about questions to ask, and I think I've done a video on this in the past where I kind of go through the process of what we do when we hire. I'm going to just focus on the questions to ask today because I've got a little bit of a hard stop here at the end. I want to make sure I've got some time for your questions at the end. But the questions that you should be asking are, so what are some of the difficult situations that people have been in? What are they experiencing? What's going on? What's been hard for them? What what have they experienced as they're trying to just run the business? What difficult situations have they handled with family, and with residents and with staff? Like what's gone on there, and what's that like? Um, you want to understand how do they handle resident families. So there's three groups of people that every administrator is going to deal with, and you as the owner or operator are going to deal with this as well. There's the staff. Staffing is hard. It's really hard. There's the residents. Residents can be hard, but generally they're great. I love our residents. And the third one is families, and families are really hard. They have very strong opinions about the type of care that, and rightfully so, about the type of care that should be provided to their loved one. And if something doesn't feel right, they will let you know, and they can get verbal about it and verbally excited about it. Is a nice way to say it. And so you're going to be dealing with it. So ask. How do you handle resident families? How do you, when you bring them in, what's that process like when there's an issue? What's the process like? How do you handle those conversations? What do you do if something goes bad? Or how are you communicating that to the family? All of those things you want to understand. How they interact with families is very, very important. Number three here is dealing with staff turnover. Staff turnover happens. Staffing is hard in assisted living. And so you have to be aware that there's going to be a lot of staff turnover. How comfortable are they hiring people? How comfortable are they posting a job and using a tool, whatever tool you want? Like, is it Indeed or something else? How used to those tools are they, and how can they progress with it? So you want to ask them those things. And another really important one is, what are their feelings around covering extra shifts? So your administrator, they have to do the administrative work, but they are also kind of the person that ensures that all of the shifts are filled, that somebody's there. And if if a shift is not filled, they're the ones that are backfilling in and taking care of those shifts. And so you want to make sure that they're okay with that. They might not like it, and that's totally fine if an administrator doesn't like it, and that, like, very normal. But are they willing to cover those shifts and make sure that there is 100% coverage all the time in the facility with your residents? And so you want to make sure that that you're getting a good, satisfactory answer to that question as well when you're hiring people. So those are the types of things that I would suggest that you ask when I go through this process of when I go through this process of hiring staff. Because it's my dad and I, generally what will happen is I create the job board, the job position. I receive the application. I look at the resume. If it's a good fit, I do a phone call with them, just me and them, and ask them maybe one or two of these questions, get a feel for them, what their goals are, give them a little background on us. And then if I feel good about that, we move them to a second interview where it's my dad and I, and we pepper them with a bunch of questions, including these plus some other ones. And we really want to see how they handle these different types of situations. And then if we like them, that's when we're going to move forward in hiring with them. Now, if you need some help and some guidance as you're trying to launch your assisted living business, I want to invite you to join ALI Basics. ALI Basics is a community that is designed to help you get an extra level of support as you're trying to launch your assisted living business. So in here we have monthly member only Q&A calls. You get priority answers on these lives that we do, some resources, webinar recordings, library of Q&A recordings, and an active community with some weekly tips and tricks. Some get your questions answered by me when you have them, get timely answers to your questions. I'm in there every day and do some peer-to-peer networking. So go check out assistedlivinginvesting.net/basics to do that. And so when you have questions like what we're talking about here with around hiring and things like that, rather than waiting for me to get to it on a YouTube video in 2, 3, 4 months, you can get direct access to me and get answers to your questions right in the moment when you need it, so you can continue making progress. Would love to see you inside of ALI Basics. It's a fun community and fun to help people along their path and launching their assisted living business. So with that, I want to open it up for questions. I know we've got a few people here with us on the live. I do have a thing that I've got to hop off onto here in just a few minutes, but while you're typing in your questions, I want to remind you to like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, get notified every time we put out content like this. We do our lives on Tuesdays, put out content on Thursdays. I just recorded a bunch of videos that are going to be coming up today, so my voice is a little bit shot. These recording days are exhausting for me, but I love doing it. So type in your questions down below, and we'll get to those. There was a question inside of our ALI Basics community that I wanted to hit on. It was around attorneys. So I've talked about this previously, but when it comes to setting up an entity correctly, the question was any referrals for an attorney, and would that be a business attorney or something else? And the answer to that is I would highly suggest that you do work with an attorney when you're setting up your entities. You can do it on LegalZoom. Absolutely, it's certainly possible, but there's a lot of complexity that goes into assisted living and the way you want to set up your businesses with the real estate and the business itself and protection and all the things that go into that. And I'm not an attorney, so don't take anything that I say as advice other than to tell you to go and talk to an attorney. And and to answer the question that was in our community there are two attorneys that I'm aware of that I think are really good. One is the one that I work with. They're KKOS. Their main office is here in Utah, but they have offices in Idaho, Arizona, and I think at least one other state. But they work nationwide, and you can look them up online. Mark J. Kohler is one of the lead attorneys. He does a lot of stuff. I was actually just listening to a podcast on him earlier about just how to set up entities and understand how that works. I've submitted questions on his podcast in the past as well, and have gotten answers that are specific to assisted living. You're probably going to have a hard time finding them because it's been a few years, but he knows what he's talking about, and they've helped us out. So KKOS is one. The other one is Anderson Associates. Clint Coons is kind of the main guy there that at least talks about assisted living. He has videos on YouTube that are about that. And so I would highly encourage you, if you're in that kind of phase of trying to figure out how you're going to set things up from a legal standpoint, I would check them out, and they can help you out. So Clint Coons at Anderson Associates is who you want to be looking at there. They, I believe, are based in Tennessee, I want to say, somewhere over on the East Coast ish area, in the Southwest, I believe. So that's, or Southeast. Got my directions all mixed up, but that's another one that I would tell you to go in and look at as you're trying to figure out how you should be setting up that entity, as you move things along. So, okay, so with that, we got a thing in here, midlife escapade. Let's see, can I show you right there? So you have already filed your biz on LegalZoom under LLC. Should I have structured the business differently? So I'm not an attorney, so that's number one. Number two, so yes, this is not legal advice. What I would say is, I think it's good to have a conversation with an attorney. Having it set up on LegalZoom, I think, is fine. But you need to, when you have an entity, to make sure that you keep the corporate veil in place. You need to make sure that you are maintaining business minutes, like meeting annual minutes, and doing everything and treating things correctly. I also suggest that you work with an accountant so that you keep finances in the right place and everything is kind of set up the way that it needs to be set up. And if you're working and you have the real estate and you have the business, I personally have entities that holds the real estate, one holds the business entity, so that they are completely separate entities. There's some tax benefits to that, but more so it's liability protection. So you can set it up on LegalZoom, but you have to also take into consideration there's a lot more that goes into that. When you're working with assisted living, there's it's complex. You're working with a lot of different people, and you're caring for people. And so that can lead to, we live in a litigious society, and so that can lead to potential for I don't know, people to sue you. And so you want to make sure that you do everything that you can, to protect yourself and protect your assets. So you set it up on LegalZoom. That's great. I think it's probably worth having a conversation with an attorney to make sure it is set up correctly, and that that you are just confident that it's set up correctly. Doesn't mean you're going to have to change anything. It just gives you that level of extra level of confidence is what I would say, as you're trying to do it. So yeah, you're welcome. Okay, I've got to hop off. I want to thank everybody for being here with me, and hope this information was helpful to you. Thanks for watching. Go grab the free business plan checklist at assistedliving.net/BP checklist, and go check out ALI Basics as well. Would love to help you out and make sure you get the answers to your questions as you're going through things. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At Assisted Living Investing, I'm here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. I love helping and coaching people. It's one of my favorite things to do. Go check out assistedlivinginvesting.net and see what I can do to help you out. And remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Just keep going step by step by step. And I promise you, if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.